Hi, this is Derrick Jordan. Welcome to the World Fusion Show, where we bring you the leading innovators in world fusion music. Today, my guests are Royal Hartigan and Wes Brown. Royal is a lifelong teacher, drummer, piano player, has won 2 Fulbright scholarships, has traveled to Ghana, Indonesia, Philippines, and more. And Wes is a bass player and interested in many kinds of music. Welcome, Royal and Wes.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming
Pleasure.
On the show. It's really great to have you here today.
Yeah.
So Royal, I want to start with you because I want to ask, where'd you get that name?
Okay. My parents named it after my uncle, who was this really great tap dancer in vaudeville in New York. And we danced with Bill Robinson, Pegleg Bates, and they shortened his name to Ray Hart. And he taught in the Western Mass in Vermont. But they named me after him. I unfortunately don't live up to it. But I still try to tap dance along with piano and drum set and so forth.
So what inspired you to get into music? How did you get in?
When I was 3 years old, I started tap dancing, taught by my mother and my uncle. And, I'd go out and do a little routine. And there was something about connecting with the audience, with people beyond the stage and the lights that were there. And it was sort of like connecting with the world. And I could see not just those people, but I thought of it like there's a whole world out there. And I said, that's really special. And I want to do that in my life if I can. Yeah. So then it went from there, and I still feel the same way now.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
It's great. So Wes, what about you? How did you first get inspired to do music?
I was inspired to do music by my mother. My mother sang. She led church choirs. I remember I have a sister who was 1.5 years older than me, another one 1 year older than her, and the 3 of us at the age of 8, 9, and 10 would be helping the members of the choir to learn their parts, because between us we had alto, tenor, and soprano covered, and we'd do the bass an octave higher or whatever, but we all had musical ears, and my mother was a prime influence. Later on, I sang in the school chorus, and the orchestra conductor was looking for a bass player, and the choral conductor let him know that I had a good ear and was a quick study. So I played a little bit. I also did sports and couldn't make the after-school rehearsals, so I was kicked off the orchestra team pretty quickly, but got back into it in college. There was a bass standing around that no one was using, and I asked in the department if I could just bring it back to my dormitory room and started playing. Lots of groups need a bass player, and it's not one of those instruments.
Always can work if you're a bass player.
It's not one of those instruments that people immediately think of as that's what they want to do, upright bass, that is.
Sure. Yeah, that's fantastic. So you guys have been playing together quite a while now. How long have you been together working as a team?
I met Wes in the fall of '81 when I started my graduate work at Wesleyan. He had been there earlier.
Yeah.
By the way, playing on the football team in 1974 with none other than Bill Belichick, the current coach of the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
I met him in '81. We started playing together in '82, and we formed the group Blood Drum Spirit. Well, at the time it was Juba in 1983. But later the nucleus to become the Blood Drum Spirit Ensemble.
And we're going to go to watch this video
of
Blood Drum Spirit right now.
Yeah.
This is you guys in Ghana, right?
Yes, in Ghana.
And you're playing various instruments, and
yes.
There's a lot of people dancing and
yes.
playing other instruments as well. Do you want to say something about this?
Yeah, this was part of a month-long it was a tour we did, but it's not a tour in the sense of you go and set up in a big stadium. Or we went to each village to honor the people that I had been studying with in each of these villages since 1991, and this was in 2015. So a long time later, and 24 years, and we went to play with the drummers and dancers and people, speak with the elders, get their permission to perform, and then we got permission to record because we wanted to make some document. And the purpose of the video and the film that's come out of it is to honor African culture and its depth and spirituality and purity and power, and its connection to African American cultures and their spirituality and depth, as opposed to the stereotypes that are popular in the media of chains and breasts so they can commodify peoples of color, to exoticize the other so people will buy records and CDs, and of course arrogant and racist. But we wanted to show the opposite, the true nature and beauty in their own words, not in our words, because I'm not an African person or African American person, but to let them speak through their music to show the beauty of these cultures that we all ultimately share. Africa, African American music, jazz, and global music and global peoples. That, in effect, the title of the tune and the title of the film is that we are one.
Sounds great. Let's go to the video and check
Okay.
this out. Oh yeah, that's great. Really nice stuff. Royal, your concept in music centers around rhythm rather than harmony and melody, mostly. Want to tell us about your idea?
Yeah, actually, it used to, but when I went to Wesleyan, it really changed it. I heard Indian music and Javanese gamelan, Chinese music, Native American, and of course, West African drumming, as well as working with Ed Blackwell, who is among, as Max Roach, one of the most melodic drummers. So I now hear music as harmony, even harmony, among different instruments in, for example, a Javanese gamelan or a Chinese Beijing opera ensemble or an African drum ensemble, and melody also. I hear melody in the drums and timbre. So in a certain way, rhythm is just only one small part of what I hear in drums. So my approach is actually timbral, melodic, harmonic, and rhythmic all together. And that's especially evident in West African drumming, where the tones of the drums reflect the tones of the language. As you'll hear in one of the clips that we want to play, is that I speak and drum different tones. African languages are tonal, so the drums actually are speaking a language and a melody through their tones.
That's right.
So that's how I approach it. Timbre, tone, melody, harmony, and rhythm all put together. The way an African musician and my teachers tell me they hear it.
And you're also a piano player, so
Yes.
you have a background in jazz harmony and
Yes, I play piano, and even in my tap dancing from my Uncle Ray and my mother Hazel Hartigan, they always would sing the things we tap dance to. So I'd say, oh man, there's a tone to these rhythms. It's not just, taps on the mats. There's a tonality and a sound to it.
So you won a Fulbright to go to the Philippines.
Yes.
But you've also been very interested in Asian music and traveled quite a bit in the East. What attracted you to Asian music?
I was in the Peace Corps in the Philippines, and unfortunately, when I was there, I wasn't in an area where they had the traditional music, but later studied it, and when I played with Fred Ho's Afro-Asian Ensemble for many years in New York, and Wes played as well, he incorporated a lot of indigenous Asian music, Chinese music, Japanese, and Filipino, among others. And so I learned kulintang in New York, and then on subsequent trips back to the Philippines.
And kulintang is Filipino.
Yeah, kulintang is Filipino. And in China, I've gone a number of times, and even a number of times with Blood Drum Spirit, I studied the Chinese Beijing opera patterns and music and melodies. My wife taught me a number of melodies, one of which is in some of our music, and appreciation for instruments like the guzheng that she plays, which is a 21-string zither instrument.
Is that who's playing in this next video?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Her name is weihua zhang, or in China it would be zhang weihua.
Yeah.
Wonderful artist. She's actually a classical pianist.
Oh, she plays
When I
beautifully.
met her at Wesleyan, she started becoming interested in her own culture
How neat.
and learned the guzheng, and later subsequently in China and San Francisco, where
Well,
she went.
let's go to watch this
Okay,
video
good.
because it's
Sounds good.
really quite beautiful.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's great. I love that instrument.
Beautiful
So
sound,
nice,
yeah.
yeah. So Wes, aside from jazz, what other kinds of music in the world are you most drawn to?
I really was drawn to African music. I think as a, I think it's the community aspect of African music that really draws me in. I like the idea that I connect with other people, and maybe it's from growing up as an African American. Family and community is something that's important. It might have to do with my growing up. My dad was in the Navy. We were constantly moving about. Both my parents were only children, so I have no aunts, no uncles, no cousins, and so there was basically my sisters and my younger brother and my parents. My dad wasn't around a lot. He was often going somewhere where the family couldn't go.
Yeah.
And so having community was strong, a strong draw for me. And there's something about the idea that if somebody raises a song, everyone will respond. So that part of African music really brought me in. And but I'm interested in all kinds of music. So I'll listen to anything. I'll play anything, and I'm happy with it. It's something. It was just always a part of me from a very young age. My first instrument was actually piano.
Yeah.
That happened because my sister took piano lessons.
Right.
After my parents split up, my mom was raising 4 children on her own, and we didn't have a lot of money, so we couldn't afford piano lessons for me. But piano lessons for my sister was enough, because by the time she was done practicing, I could play it.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's cool.
So I wanted to get into this
Okay.
for a minute, this topic of cultural appropriation.
Sure.
Because it's kind of a hot topic right now.
Okay.
I know as an educator, you've probably done a bit of thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to share your ideas.
Yeah, well, it came first as a player. In the Philippines, I saw the conditions of the world and the results of what's called first world colonial genocide. And it continues today in neo-colonial forms. It's not much different. And as one aspect of that, physical and political and cultural, there's an intellectual and, I guess, cultural genocide, in a sense, that's stealing that's gone on for however many centuries. People have been exploited by outsiders, and sometimes with the collusion of insiders, people in the culture. My feeling is that as a result of long study with master artists in Asia, the Middle East, the indigenous Americas, and Africa, and actually some artists in the European tradition, I've come to understand and feel that to touch anything else in another culture is very special, and in many cultures it's sacred. And I have no right to even do that without permission of the people. And if I'm going to use that in any way, in an arrangement, composition, recording, I have a responsibility. It's a moral responsibility to ask their permission, and actually, when possible, to include them in any event, and in either case, to give them compensation. It isn't about really money, because you can't quantify it, but to show some appreciation, which is usually my earnestness and my return to them and continuing to work on the music and perform with them, but also to thank them in giving them something that will allow them and their families to eat, because many of them are very poor. They don't know what it is sometimes to have a full stomach.
Yeah.
And I feel the only way I can do it is with that permission. Anything less than that, commercial purposes, is unacceptable. And I think that that only contributes to the mistaken appropriation, in fact, stealing of people's music and culture. And really, what for many of them is not just sound, it's spirit. It's the voice of an ancestor. And I think that's very important. And I think it has to have the integrity of where it came from. It can't be just because it might sound good or look good as a drum or something, just, do something. No, it's got to have a rigorous process that it has to go through before it can be acceptable to me to have that integrity in both cultures if it's something cross-cultural.
Yeah. So Wes, going to add anything to that discussion? What do you think?
In some ways, it's righting a wrong, a long time wrong. We don't, as people have done in the past, go to another country, study for a lesson or two, a week or two, a month or two, even a year or two, and then come back and promote that and commercialize that. That's not what we are interested in doing. I go as a student, I go to learn, I go to appreciate, and I go to experience. And it's the experiences that I like. And then when I come back, I just kind of do my thing, enriched by that experience.
Yeah, that's great. I'd love to go to the next video.
Sure.
This one is of you playing with a kulintang.
Yes.
In the Philippines.
Yes.
And in a setting with, I think, a traditional group.
Yes, very traditional, led by the woman that playing the dabakan drum, mayu butocan, and the gentleman on the hanging gongs, Mr. Kanapia kalanduyan. It was recorded in the Philippines at the University of the Philippines, and it's a traditional style that has some improvisation in it called binalig. And the music is known as palabunibunyan, or nicknamed kulintang, which is the name of the leading melodic instrument.
All right, let's go to it.
Great.
Let's watch this.
Ensemble binalig.
great
That's
sound.
good.
I really want to thank you guys both for coming on the show today.
It's a pleasure.
It's been really great. Royal Hartigan and Wes Brown.
Yeah.
And thanks for sharing your music
Okay.
and your philosophy
Thank you.
with us. It's been really great. We're going to go right now, as we usually do, and do some live playing
Oh, wonderful.
at the end of the show.
It's going to be cool.
Really
Yeah.
looking forward to
Yeah.
doing that with you guys. We're also going to be joined by Matan Rubenstein on keyboard. who's
Wonderful.
Waiting in the wings.
Good.
So this is your host, Derrick Jordan, saying thank you for joining us today on the World Fusion Show. It's been really great to have you be part of the music again. Remember, think globally, listen locally, and support independent music.
Yes, sir, Mommy Hanu. Yes, sir, Mommy Hanu. Yes, sir, Mommy Hanu. Twin ball Kodua. Abrampong. Demiri Fadway. Demiri Fadway. Demiri Fadway, Dway. Dway ni. Amiane Hunu. Abrampong. Yamawa Kwaba. Aduwuroko fima homeraso. Aduwuroko fima homeraso. Aduwuroko fima homeraso. Kumubrebre. 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 Yeshua mami hanu. Yeshua mami hanu. Yeshua mami hanu.